Welcome to the Timothy Weichselbaum Show. This is episode 107. 107. I put an in between it. Okay, this is the official start of the show. I am going to be talking like this the whole time without moving my lips, practicing to become a ventriloquist because that's a big job. There's a lot of market for that. I'm actually training to become an Alex Jones ventriloquist who only can do Alex Jones's voice during the ventriloquism. Okay, let's not start on a stupid, dumb voice. Like I'm more than one per. I am going to decide to no longer speak in abrasive voices that damage my voice. But hey, I can't help it. But I'm going to stop doing that. But I can't help it. So that makes sense. So this is already going really good as a vlog. First I'm saying let's as if there's more than one person in charge of me. Let's. And I'm saying, I'm going to stop doing something that I can't stop doing. I'm never going to stop doing that with my voice. I'm never going to just stop hurting my voice. I'm a singer. I like saying singer-songwriter, but you can't really say that if you're not writing any song. But I'm a singer-songwriter who only sings other people's karaoke songs, not remember. I don't sing my own songs, but I'm still a singer-songwriter. But, I just don't happen to perform my own songs. So if you see me singing, it's probably not my own song, unfortunately. But I am a singer-songwriter. I just don't do both at the same time. Okay, now we got that. I'm actually pretty happy with that topic. I'm glad we went down that topic hole. Because actually you could hear that my voice actually still kind of sounds... Doesn't still... Yeah, of course it didn't... What do you mean still? Yeah, no, it still sounds bad. The whole episode, it still sounds bad. Well, that's because I was doing some karaoke in this room. This room was designed so that you can't really hear anything. You have to wear headphones. You have to put a reverb on through the headphones. It's not so you don't really feel like you're being heard unless you got the reverb blasting through the cans. Otherwise, there's no reflections. It absorbs everything. So outside the room, you could yell and there's an echo. There's a nice little echo. So it reverberates. So anyway, so to sing karaoke, you kind of, you don't have to hurt yourself to do this, but how else are you going to sing the way that draws the people in? Sometimes you have to sacrifice your own vocal cords and the longevity of them. That's what happened to RFK. That's why he talks the way he does. He can't even do that. He can't even say a single syllable without cutting out, like the radio is interfering. Like interference in a radio. It's like, and it's like, did you just say one word there? You couldn't even get one word out, the word You couldn't even say that without breaking off and some of it getting just lost in the ether, some of the data just lost. One second and my name is... How the hell It's because he did a lot of karaoke songs in his 20s, and most people stop in their 20s. That's when they stop singing karaoke hardcore. If you stop in your 20s, your voice might endure. But he kept going into his 30s at the karaoke bars until 4 a.m. sometimes. Sometimes they went until 4 a.m. in Hong Kong and Philippines, where that's where you go if you're really into it. That's where he went. So he was singing at the top of his lungs, like James Brown, that other guy, Bob Seger, who doesn't sound anything, who's not at all the same as James Brown. That other guy that you would think of when I mentioned James Brown, Bob Seger. Yeah, he also has a voice that if you're singing old time rock and roll, you're gonna hurt your voice. You're gonna cause damage to your voice. And then you're gonna notice it in your natural speaking voice. You're gonna be like, why do I sound so gravelly? Gravelly, not raspy. It's more gravelly. Yeah, and just talking. Why does my talking voice sound like I have a frog in my throat? Well, it's because I'm not good at singing, and that's so now all of my rest of my life. People ask, why is your voice so gravelly? Yet you look like you don't smoke a pack of cigarettes every 4 hours, but you sound like you do. Well, it's because I like doing karaoke songs that are out of my range, son. And now you have this voice as your father's voice for the rest of your life. It's going to be always gravelly. Because I like singing Mariah Carey. That's it. That's the only reason I sound like this, because I broke my voice singing songs that you're not supposed to sing. Okay, so start the show, man. Come on. Come on, man. What are you doing here? Okay, Joe Biden is moving. He's leaving. And I'm just learning out how to do the accent. I'm just learning the impression of Joe Biden. Come on, man. Come on, man. What are you doing? No, he doesn't do it. He doesn't put that the Italian Brooklyn. He doesn't talk. Okay. So I could just keep talking about what I was just talking about with the voice, because actually once you get warmed up, it's fun, and then you don't put stress on it. But to get warmed up, it takes like 3 hours to get fully warmed up. Then it's like, oh, I'm not putting any effort into this song. It's just like talking. It takes literally no effort to sing a song when you're warmed up. You just go blah, 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 blah. It's just effortless, yet it's perfect because you're warmed up. And because you practice that one song probably a million times. So, it's like practicing an instrument, but, it takes three hours. But anyway, what am I talking about? I'm not even a professional, so who gives a crap? Oh, it takes you 3 hours to do something that nobody cares about? Well, actually, it takes longer to record a song, which I was doing on air. I was doing that for $40 a song. I think less than that, even $20 to $30 a song. It took 2 days per song to just get good enough to start recording the final takes. 2 full day, like 2 freaking 8-hour days of just, okay, let's try this again. And then you finally just go, okay, this is as good as it's going to get. Yeah, this is as good as it's going to get in my voice. And it's 10 times better than it was when I started practicing. It does take that long. It does take that long to just sing a freaking song correctly. And then pretty much after the 2-day point, it's like, yeah, this is as good as it's going to get. Start layering the harmonies. And usually, if I'm warmed up, the harmonies will be much easier, because you need to be warmed up for anything you're doing. The harmonies, forget about it. The harmonies, you can tell if somebody's not warmed up if the harmonies sound weak and just out of tune and just not professional. They just don't have that power to them that sounds like, okay, this guy is an angel. This sounds like an angel. Sounds like a fucking, like a keyboard. Like they're just pressing down on an electric keyboard a digital sample. That's how your harmonies should sound. Should sound like a MIDI instrument, a virtual instrument. Like, oh, like it should be even when you press that, like pressing a piano note. Like it just even keel harmonies. La 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 la. Like you gotta go pretty high for harmonies, and it should all be not stressful to do that. When you're warmed up, it's effortless. It's go la 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 la. I'm warmed up. I sang like 4 Bob Seger songs and a Tom Petty song, and that helps. And a James Brown song, and that's why I sound like a garbage man. I sound like garbage. I sound like how garbage would sound if it was a person. But the cool thing is, I could still hit a note properly in that gravelly voice. La, like it's nasally too. It's la 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 la. La, la, la. Okay, now we're just talking about singing for 20 minutes. Okay, so the point is, yeah, if you could sing in tune, like all the notes, like ba, 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 like if you get even the in-between note, like the syllables, like la, ba, ba, da, ba, la, like those are easy to smooth, to blend, I don't want to curse. I'm trying to think of a more eloquent way of saying this. Because it's not until you hear it back most of the time that you go, no, that wasn't as good as I thought. I missed all these notes because they're all just blended into one sentence. I just was, I wasn't, and you're not even supposed to focus on every syllable. You're just supposed to do it. It's muscle. You just get good at it. Your brain coordinates with the muscles faster and faster to where it becomes kind of unconscious, where you could just hit all the notes and the in-between notes, because it's complicated. It's a lot of shit going right. You have to hear it in your head. You have to know where the note is relatively and to get it with your muscle. It's muscle coordination, and it's fast. And it's kind of like you're doing a little bit of math. Not math, but you have to know what that individual, that in-between note, like okay, like freaking like a chord, like ba 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 ba, that middle note, ba 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 ba. But like that's hard to even remember the middle note because you're only thinking about the ascending. You're only thinking about the ascending melody. You're not thinking about the notes in between, like ba 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 ba. That's the only one I'm talking about. I'm only talking about bum bum bum. We gotta, that one. But there's also the bum 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 bum. And it's easy to just not do it right. It's like ba 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 ba. Like you gotta remember the sound of just that note. Ba ba ba. I don't know, man. I just know that practice makes perfect, man. Practice, ear training practice, and then the singing on top of that makes the singer, man. You can't just practice the singing without the ear training, because you gotta actually be like, oh, you're supposed to actually sing that specific note, not just vaguely in that area. Oh, and it helps to be able to hear it. It's really hard to sing a note if you don't know what it sounds. Okay, this is boring. Holy crap. Well, hey, what can I say? Ear training. I'm the moderator of that subreddit, Reddit/ear training. I'm the sole moderator of that thing. And nobody's ever needed me for nothing in that. Like, people talk in that community. And I've never said a single thing because what do I got to say about it? Just take a lesson on ear training. Go on the internet. They're not that hard to find. Perfectpitch.com and then relative pitch from the same website as that one, because it's the same thing. They teach both. So if you do the ear training, yeah, it's esoteric. It's very boring to hear about. Most people, ear training, what the yeah, well, most people aren't good at music, too. So that kind of checks out, actually. Hey, most people aren't that good at music. Most people don't like doing the thing that makes you good at music. Okay, well, at least that checks out. Because, yeah, who the hell wants to sit down every day and listen to piano chords and try to separate out okay, can I hear the middle and then do it with more notes? Okay, 4 notes. Can I sing all those notes just by ear? Okay, just hearing them. Now, can you identify them? Yeah, if you really get obsessed with that, yeah, you'll get better at music. You'll start appreciating it a lot more, man, because you'll be like, whoa, there's a new dimension to it. There's more crisp. There's more resolution to it. I'm getting more richness out of it, more content that I didn't know was there just from doing ear training. It's ridiculous, man. If you think vinyl people are pretentious with their audiophile equipment, ask them how much they spend on their ears, and they'll probably say not a lot of $1,000. They'll be like, you'll be like, okay, you spent $20,000 on this Macintosh preamp thing or whatever the hell. I don't even know what it does, but it's really expensive. And they go, how many thousands on your ears every day? How much minutes per day even? How many hours did you put into crafting your ears to actually appreciate the subtleties of what you're hearing? Most people who are into audiophilia, they don't know. They just think it's all about how much money you spend on the equipment, I think. No, you could actually get better at hearing for free just by doing these weird exercises. And then you'll have this permanent appreciation. You'll be able to hear better. So it'll make even shittier quality audio equipment better quality. Actually, in a way, you'll get more pleasure out of even lower quality equipment, but also the negative side is you will also hear why it's worth money to spend more on other equipment. You actually will understand, yeah, that's why I spent $30,000 on this one piece of gear, is because I can tell the difference. There's less depth. There's less richness and realness. You want the music to feel real, like it's in the same room as you happening. You want to feel like somebody's blowing on that saxophone. You want to hear the reed vibrate, not just the record. You want to hear as if the music is being played. That's just one aesthetic, just that realness. Some records are just lo-fi, but you want the best of that record. You still want to hear it on the best equipment. Okay. But ear training, nobody really talks about it yet. It's really, you don't really get any better at music if you don't train your ears, because sure, you could get good at some aspects of music. You get good at lyrics. You could get good at songwriting without ear training, but to get even better, it's just not going to happen without some kind of training that opens up your ability to even know what notes are out there. Yeah, you need good ears to hit your mark, to fully realize your musical creative potential, because if you're only stuck in one key, and if you only know a few little chords or keys, whatever, signatures, scales, you won't know. how much you could do, how you'll be stuck to just those few notes, those few tricks. But if you expand your vocabulary, you'll be like, oh wow, there's actually subtle. I could actually just switch notes. I could modulate up to this totally different. I could make this chord sound good. I wouldn't have even known to do this because it's not in your vocabulary. Listen to Michael Jackson do his live recording, or no, his live, yeah. He was writing a song live in the studio. It was like a demo of him writing a song because he got sued. So it's on YouTube, but in a deposition of him, they're playing the music to prove that he wrote the freaking song because he's literally in the studio singing it for the very first time and changing it. He changes it and changes just one note. And it's like, holy crap, that guy is a genius because it's a subtle change. It's like, whoa, it's like, like it's a note that you have to be a fucking genius. You have to kind of be a composer. You have to be a full composer to do this. He didn't have to do ear training. He had perfect pitch. That's enough. If that already is what you get. That counts as ear training. That means you did it as a kid. Okay, now I have to talk more about the difference between. Who cares? Wow, I didn't want to talk about this. But now I feel like I have to keep talking because I just said a bunch of shit that is like very misleading, not the full story. But this is what I'm an expert on. So, perfect pitch. Yeah, you're not born. Nobody's just born with it. You have to realize it at some point as a kid, or you just figure it out as an adult because you're exposed to enough music training of some kind that it just clicks. But usually it has to solidify in the critical learning stage, which is when the brain is learning its native languages. It's solidifying its native languages, which includes music. So it becomes part of your native language to have absolute pitch in addition to relative pitch, which everybody has. But the weird thing is actually perfect pitch is more primitive. It's more primitive than relative pitch because relative pitch requires you to have a working memory of more than one note. Perfect pitch is just like, bleh, okay, that's that. It's just a feeling. It's like, bleh, oh, that's that. It's just like you're just feeling a sensation and going, yeah, that's that feeling. That's that color. It's like, oh, that's green. That's it. Relative pitch is a little more sophisticated because you have to know about all the relationships it could possibly be. Oh, I don't know. It's a B major 7th diminished. That involves a lot of math. You could still do it very instantaneously because it's just a sound. It's just a relationship. But it's more complicated. It takes more sophisticated intelligence and cognition to do relative pitch. I'm guessing. Why do I think that though? I don't know. Just a thing I think for some reason. Because we think of perfect pitch as more sophisticated because it's out of reach. Yeah. You're never going to get it if you don't know what it is. You can't really accidentally acquire it unless you kind of already have it in you. Unless you already have the exposure to it. If you're right on the fence, yeah, you might just spontaneously pick it up, go through that phase change. But rarely does that. Rarely do adults pick it up. No, they just realize they have it. They always had it. They just didn't realize it. They're like, oh, yeah, I never knew that was a thing, but yeah, I could name, yeah, I know what every sound is. Any sound, play, yeah, I know what that is. A G sharp. That's, yeah, they just know innately because it's like blah, 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 blah. There is a human ability that is in your perception to do this. Everybody can have a C memorized because it's a feeling. C just has a feeling. Blah, 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 blah. And D has a D, D, D. It's always different, always reliable because it's a feeling that is somewhere in your psyche. You have to learn it. You have to be exposed to it to make that semantic relationship to, and then that's the training. That's what ear training is. You got to do it every day to really solidify the feeling of D and C, and then eventually it'll just click. It'll just click for all of them. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then you'll just have a permanent memory and usable ability to just know, just craft in real time musical information. And you'll just be able to, like, yeah, this is what I'm doing right here. A, C, here's the notes. So that's great. That's a great language translation tool to just have in your head. Of course. That's why it's desirable to be like, I have this melody in my head, and now I got to figure out how to transcribe it or what. I got to transcribe it to piano. Wouldn't it be better to just know what exactly it already is? Like, oh yeah, I'm playing a G with going up to the G/C chord and all this shit. You'll just know innately. You don't even have to say it, that bullshit in your head, because you skip that part. You don't even have to name the notes. You just go right to them because you know the sounds, and your fingers do the rest of the work. It becomes innate to just reach out. Be like, yeah, I want to, here's a G, A to C, whatever. It's a very desirable thing to have. And, you kind of, if you're not born with that, you're probably not going to ever develop perfect pitch because they don't teach it. There's no motivation to learn it. Nobody knows how. There's only one course in the whole world that teaches it, and nobody it's one dude. So you have to be very rare to like, okay, not only do I not have it, I want it, I am going to get it, and I'm doing it because that's what you do if you want to be a full musician. Yeah, most people don't do, there's songwriting, and then there's musicianship, composing. You could get good at composing just by experience. Like John Lennon was a great composer, like he was a composer. Because his songs didn't need lyrics to be good and identifiable. You just play them on a simple synthesizer, not monophonic synthesizer, and that it's him. So this is Christmas. You just play that or whatever, what's a better example? Yeah, you could just play that melody in a shopping mall, and people would go, oh, it's John Lennon. Yeah, because that's what I mean by he was a composer. Okay, that was a more obscure one. That one would probably not be identifiable. That was number 9, or whatever it's called. Something number 9. Okay, so enough about that. But he didn't have perfect pitch, but so what? He didn't need it. Bob Dylan, yeah, he probably would be even better if he had perfect pitch, because his songs wouldn't all be the same chords. They would be more. There'd be a bigger vocabulary to the musical elements. The lyrics already are extremely musical. They're already extremely acute. He's a very, whatever, man, acute. You gotta be acute with your expression, whatever language you're using to create a work of art. Because now we're getting into a different topic a little bit. Now we're getting into language, which is still, I mean, even more boring. So language is the thing that we use to create works, any kind of work. I don't know. Now I'm getting very pompous sounding. Like, oh, by the way, here's how everything works, by the way. Here's how the world works. Here's reality. By the way. What was I even saying? Oh, yeah. So every piece of work, not even just art, requires a substrate, a language. Those aren't the same things. Every language needs a substrate, right? Every work of art needs both of those things. Okay, give me an example. Okay, so if you write a play that's in English, okay, right? So that's a language encapsulating a work. Okay, that's a very easy example. Okay, what about a science paper? Yeah, it's in English. Okay, what about a math theory? Yeah, math is a language. It's a universal language, not like English. More speakers of math than there are of English. Still a language. Okay, what about a piece of music? Okay, this is where it gets a little, okay, so yeah, so there's lyrics, so that is obviously part of a language, and then the actual composition, the writing of that, if something is written and there's elements that communicate meaning or patterns, yeah, that's what a language is. It's something that allows you to communicate meaning or exchange patterns through some substrate or medium. It's a system that allows you to transfer meaning. Really, pretty much, that covers a lot of things, right? I mean, Okay, what's another work? Okay, a baby. Let's say you have a baby. Is that a language that you used to create that? Yes, humanity is a language. Culture is a language. It's the same thing. We're just speaking that. We're the nodes. We're the little things speaking that language, but they also speak us back. English speaks human, kind of, right? I mean, I don't know. It does, because things that people say in English leads to new ideas. Some of those ideas are people. So it's both. We speak languages, and languages speak people into and out of existence. Same thing. Languages also kill people, right? That's why freedom of speech is such a dicey topic. Okay, so we speak human. We don't speak English or Cantonese or Jamaican. We don't speak Jamaican because, first of all, I don't think that's a language. I'm not very good at that. I guess I couldn't think of a freaking language. Yeah, Spanish. Those are not native languages. Those are intermediate languages. Come on. They're between you and another person. You don't need that language to understand reality. You would still be conscious without English, right? So it's not your native language. It's still just an intermediate language. Your native language, the words, they're not spoken words. They're just mental. It's just mentalese. Everybody has that. So we have this native language that humans all use to cognate, to take in information, process it, and output new information. That's what languages are. They take something in, they reformulate into something. Okay. Not really. That's not really what languages do. I mean, that's one of the things they could do. But humans are, you could say, humanity would be the language that you're using. That's the language that you're using to create this new art, this new work of a person. It's a baby. Okay? So why did I go on this sidetrack? Well, because I wasn't really talking about anything interesting before this. So I don't know why I have to explain myself. But also because it's a huge theory that I'm currently working on. It's a ontology. It's an ontology. So I don't even know. Even this word is like a word that I learned like 2 weeks ago. So I'm building an ontology that explains, at least it's a framework that you could slap onto any system or process in the whole universe. So it's kind of like a philosophical theory of everything. And that's a popular, people are into those. People are into the search for a completion of like, okay, finally we know how to explain every phenomenon. Not in physics. This is just talking about epistemology, just knowledge, how you know stuff. This is about metaphysics and philosophy, not physics. Physics is always going to require math because we already have the math. So we can't just say, okay, here's physics without talking about the actual existing physics. Now, metaphysics, however, you can get away with anything because it's not real. There's no math to metaphysics. That's why it's called metaphysics, because it's not really part of reality yet. It's just a framework that explains where physics maybe came from, which is all up in the air. You could just guess. So metaphysics, that's just like where, if we had to think, if we had to explain, okay, but where does physics come from? What about ideas? Physics doesn't explain ideas, right? It doesn't explain what happens when you drop an idea on the ground. How much does it weigh? How much mass? How much energy? Thermodynamics of ideas. Well, yeah, that would be metaphysics. Because so far physics just can't do that. As soon as it can, it will become mainstream physics, but yeah, we can't. It doesn't make sense. We don't know how much an idea weighs because that's a ridiculous question in the first place, right? No, it's not. It's not ridiculous. It's valid English. It's a perfectly valid question to ask how much an idea weighs, because why not? Why the hell not? It's a concept. How much does a concept weigh? Well, who the hell knows? It's a non-material thing. Okay. What does material mean? What is material? Math? Something that you could apply math to. That's all material is. If we don't have math for it, then it doesn't exist. Then it's just fantasy. It's in your head. It's imaginary. It's just an emergent property that is non-material, removed from physics. But we all know that's bullshit, right? Okay, now we sound like a... Okay, we don't all know that... We don't all know that that's bullshit. Okay, here's what I'm trying to get at. There is a momentum to ideas. There is a gravity to ideas. There is physics to ideas. Have you ever seen a comedian bomb on stage? Yeah, it's because they're in a volatile, physical, dynamic environment with all these fluid dynamics. Like they throw out an idea and it doesn't mesh with the environment, so they got to do all this math to try to see if they could get out of it. But nope, the gravity of the situation has really sucked away their energy. A lot of physics in not material things, non-material things, just ideas have physics to them. Very important to know this, to actually have the formulas for how attractive an idea is, or how funny something is, right? Or just the weight of something, the heaviness of a concept. Shouldn't we be trying to do that? get the math for that? Because isn't it in reality? I mean, isn't math the whole point of it to allow us to predict and analyze and formalize these phenomena that are real, just as real as stars? So this is where it gets into metaphysics. This is where it gets into, okay, well, what are you saying here? You're saying that stars and moons are just as real as ideas? Yeah. Yeah. Moons and stars are also just ideas, right? They're entities that are physical, but what does that mean? Yeah, the universe has these physical objects, but we still had to call them something. There's still a concept tied to them that we created. It's still an idea. Stars, still just an idea that we are still trying to figure out. We haven't mastered them. We think we did. We pretty much know everything there is to know about stars, right? Okay, that's our idea of stars. What does somebody else think of those stars? They might think they're not anything like what we think of them. Like, no, they're just these things that are attached to these other things. You didn't even know that? Yeah, our concept of stars might be too small and narrow compared to somebody else's more advanced than us who zoomed out and just knows more about stars. Like, no, they're portals to get to other places in the universe. You didn't know that? They're connected to other things. They're all connected. You didn't know that? They form a network. You didn't even know that? Yeah, the galaxy, the solars. Of course, the galaxy, you know about those. You didn't know that those are all forming a cohesive network? Okay, so anyway, is it physical? What does that mean? What does physical mean? It means there's a mass and energy to it that's quantifiable. Like, yeah, there's mass to it. It's real. You could weigh it. It's a physical substance. Okay. Zoom in more. Zoom in until you see what I'm saying. Because they're ideas. There's no such thing as physical. Like, once you zoom in, you'll see that, okay, so it's just these atoms with these particles that we can't see them, but we could say that there's a distribution of probabilities of where they might be. But what does that mean? So we can't ever see them in isolation. We just know that they might be here, but what are they then? What the hell are they? They're not real then, right? No, they're real. Like, well, but you can't take a picture of them. You can't see them outside of this system in relation to other things. You can only understand them in relation to other concepts because you can't observe them on their own. So good luck. So in other words, electrons, yeah, they're physical, but they're still just ideas. Then you go even further, zoom in even further. It's like, okay, quarks make up protons. What are quarks? We know that they have these properties that they always form some kind of boson, some kind of fermion or some kind of hadron. That's what we know about them. They always form this colorless particle called a proton or other things that you've seen if you study. Okay, but what are they though? You're still just talking about concepts that are only observable. They're not observable. They're only understandable by talking about other concepts. So you're talking about ideas and energy. What's the difference between energy and mass? Energy and matter are the same things. So we still don't know what either of those things are. We just know they're the same thing. So matter still ain't. So we know that matter ain't real. It's just energy when you zoom in enough. So the material world ain't anything different than energy, which means it ain't really much different than something that is formless, something that is just a idea. What is energy? I mean, energy is the most vague. Okay, there's many versions of it. There's examples of it. But those are different forms of something that might not be the same. What is it, though? What is energy? What is entropy? These are the hardest questions to answer. Because that's the most fundamental things we got. Energy, wavelengths, energy and matter. We don't got anything below that. So we don't know what the hell it is. So that's why, we will eventually figure out that the math or some kind of math also can be applied to anything, any idea. Name an idea, a thought. You'll eventually be able to weigh your thoughts. Like, oh, that's a 10 microgram thought I just had. And some people will just have these super heavy thoughts, and that explains why they're just like, have anxiety, man. It's like, whoa, that's a huge freaking thundercloud over your head, man. Why the hell not? I mean, of course, it's abstract. So what? Yeah, okay, it's abstract. You could still quantify anything that's conceptual because all concepts are just relative. They're all measurable in some way, in some spectral relational ratio. You could say what blue is. You could say blue is a primary color, but to know what it is, okay, look at red and green. Okay, now that you know about those, you get a sense of what blue is, but it helps to know what cyan is, what magenta is, what yellow is, because yellow is the opposite. You need all of them. You need the 6 colors, the primaries and the 3 secondaries, to even know what any of the colors are, because you need the contrast. It's the contrast that creates the discrete state of any idea. Literally any idea. That's why they say you can't have the good without the bad. That's why the yin-yang is that shape. Is in equal parts. You need black and white to understand what either of those things are. You can't just have a shitload of black and a tiny bit of white. You won't know what the hell is going on. It's like, no, you need a perfect symmetry. That's what meaning comes down to, is symmetries. And now we are talking about physics. Actually, physics actually does talk about symmetries at the lowest quantum level. The only thing that makes sense is that there's a symmetry between these particles. They're exchanging some meaning that always retains a balance. So all these Eastern wackadoos, these New Age spiritual folks in SoCal, the reason their houses are being burnt down is because they were right, and God doesn't like it. Now, those yoga people in the West Coast that are currently losing their homes, some of them probably subscribe to the type of bullshit that I'm spewing out right now, and that's why I feel bad for them. Okay, are we done yet? So I don't know. So language, so semantics, meaning, anything meaningful. I know this is repetitive. I already talked about this, right? But it's still true, and I'm not famous yet. Don't have a Nobel Prize yet, and I don't need a Nobel Prize because I already got the accolades. I already got the negative effects of what winning a Nobel Prize does to a person, because I already think I'm a genius. So it doesn't matter. I already think that I'm worthy of something like that. Not really, but I already think that I'm a genius. So I already have all the pitfalls that Nobel Prize winners sometimes go through. It's called Nobelitis. It's where you win a Nobel Prize. I know this is very relatable. This happens to thousands and thousands of people. I'm sure you know tons of people that this happened to, right? So here's what happens. So you win a Nobel Prize, and that goes to your head, and it doesn't help that other people kind of think of you as a genius, it's kind of the most valuable prize that could be given out for intelligence, right? So if you get that, people are going to ask you questions about any topic that you might not know anything about, but you won a Nobel Prize, so they're going to want to ask you anyway. Like, okay, what do you think about bone cancer? I know that you studied asteroids on Pluto, but what do you think about bone cancer in the tibia? Or, so that's a thing that happens, and they go, well, here's my opinion, let me tell you. And then they become pseudoscientists. I didn't need to win a Nobel Prize to become a pseudoscientist. I'm pretty good at validating my own bullshit opinions on my own accord terms. Yeah, I don't need somebody else to be like, whoa, because I already have my own imagination and my own ability to be like, whoa, myself. I already know when I stumble upon something mind-blowing myself. I don't have whatever you call that thing where you think you're better than... No. I don't have Dunning-Krugers. I have a little bit of Dunning, but Kruger could get the hell out of here. Because I'm pretty much... I know when... If anything, I have the opposite of Dunning-Kruger. I have... Freddie... I don't know. I have Freddie Mercury or whatever. I don't have Freddy Krueger. I have mercury poisoning or something. Because while trying to think of that stupid thing, I forgot what I was even going for, what I was even talking about. So yeah, okay. So I have if anything, I'm too humble. I should be like mad. I should be more like entitled, I should be like walking down to these neuro centers or whatever. No. So that's not how it works. You can't just angrily spout bullshit and expect anybody to care at all. You have to pump out research papers. You got to put out a research paper with the math to prove that what you're saying it actually holds water, and then maybe. So that's what I'm doing. I'm a researcher. I'm just a researcher, man. Nothing fancy about it. Nothing glamorous there. Really not glamorous. Actually, the fact that it's so unglamorous kind of makes it a little glamorous. I guess I'm glamorizing how not glamorous it is to be just a researcher, man. It's a humble brag. It's an elaborate way to show that, yeah, I'm better than you, but you wouldn't want to be me. It adds insult to injury. It's like, even though I'm a better person than you, you still, even if you were me, you would still not like your life. That's how much your life sucks compared to mine. My life is better than yours. I mean, yeah, of course, it's better than yours. But, it's still not that great. It's just better than yours. It's not glamorous. I'm not going around getting hookers to give me free service just because I have a few research papers in the works. I can't just go to the nearest trucker stop and honk my horn and just be like, all right, here's my research. Who wants to hear my research paper ideas? Here's a first draft. Here's an abstract. That's not really the currency that gets you laid at truck stops. You're just meth. And, I'm not saying I am opposed to... I'm not saying meth doesn't go good with research. I mean, to be honest, pretty much... I don't know how people would get anything figured out without a little bit of meth, I mean, Jesus Christ. You could do research while trucking too, you know? You could long haul down I-95 or whatever, that I-35, literally the one that goes all the way up from Texas to Minnesota. You could be driving that route while researching, man. I mean, it's tough to read. It is hard to read and type while trucking, but you could do a lot with dictation these days. So I'm a truck driver, researcher. Not really, but that's cool, man. I'm trying to glamorize what I'm currently doing, because not a lot of kids who listen to this, not a lot of kids in general, but especially the ones who listen to this, they don't go into this field enough. I'd say only about 30% of kids who listen to this podcast go into long haul truck driving research work. And then there's ice road truck driving, and they got to stay focused on the road, man. They don't really do much other shit while driving those things. They just focus on staying on their, making sure the ice doesn't cave in. Okay? So can we move on? So you have to put out a paper. But I already got Nobelitis. I don't care. I already feel like I can comment on any topic under the sun. At least I could comment. Doesn't mean it's going to be good. If somebody asks me about rosacea, I'll be like, I don't know. It has to do with language. And that won't get you very far, but it's still it's still probably true. It's a reaction that shows a meaning, something meaningful. Okay, let's not use that. It's a tough example. Okay, I don't even really want to talk about this. This is what I do for my job. Literally all last night, didn't sleep last night, all since 10 p.m. I've been up. So I was just working, just reading and sending messages to ChatGPT to process this paper, to analyze this guy Bhartṛhari, who died about 1,500 years ago, and he's still relevant. If you're smart, if you're not a dumbass. I mean, see, now I'm sounding very pedantic here. Let's get pedantic. If you're not a dumbass, you've probably realized by now that we live in a linguistic reality. And this guy Bhartṛhari was correct in his intuition that language and cognition are one and the same thing. Cognition and language are the same process. You can't have one without the other. I mean, sure, you could take in senses. You'd be like, oh, that's a bright light. But just to have that thought, you're already speaking a language. So that's a meaningful thought you just had. That's what language is. It's getting from input to meaning, whether that's a sentence or anything, a stoplight. That's a language, right? Do people not know this? Do people not know that stoplights represent meaningful things in that sense? They are words. They're symbols that point to meanings. That's what words are. How do people... Okay, I know that's very simplistic. Like, why is that such a crazy thing to spend your whole life researching? This guy figured out that stoplights is the same thing as language? Whoa, why would somebody... Why are you thinking this is such a breakthrough? I don't know. I guess because nobody in the whole... Since 1,500 years ago, in Sanskrit... hasn't said this, so that's why. So if you're not dumb, you've kind of figured out that we live in this linguistic reality. So yeah, it's going to be relevant for, I don't know, AI to kind of know that, oh, okay, language, that's why language models are so smart too. It kind of makes sense. Oh, okay, if everything comes down to language, if you can't have any form of intelligence without language, that certainly explains why large language models is all of a sudden the most real version of AI that we've supposedly ever had. To me, it's like super obvious. Language, so humans are not just languages, they're more than one. They're a network of nodes speaking many languages. I don't know how many, thousands probably. Who the hell knows how many individual types of languages there are being spoken in just a single human body. And I'm not even talking about the brain. Then you get to the brain, the neural pattern, the neural firing patterns. Then you get to consciousness. Then there's subconsciousnesses. There's multiple languages just within your own head. So we're not just one language. We're the speaker and writer and teacher of many languages. And nodes themselves, they're elements of a greater language. We're like words or sentences in the language of humanity. Woo! Okay, now it's getting very weird, man. Getting very psychedelic, radical new thinking here. But the reason I sound very sarcastic and unenthralled is because I've been researching this, working on this for about 5 months now. It's not new to me. It's still pretty mind-blowing that it's still mind-blowing because I still am unraveling more layers to it, and every time I unravel a new layer, it's like, wow, it's even more true that it's like you get this confirmation bias to the point where it's like, okay, I'm no longer impressed by my own thing, but it's still impressive. I don't know why. What was impressive about? Oh yeah, so the language. Oh yeah, it's not impressed. It's just weird. It's just like, wait, you're not literally saying this, but you kind of are literally saying that humans are sentences in a bigger language called humanity. Or maybe there's sub-languages within that greater language. Maybe there's dialects within that greater language, which is more specific. Like maybe you're just European, or maybe you're just American. Just this culture is you. You're part of this culture, which is that's the language. You're just a sub-component of this greater language. Are you yourself a full-fledged language, or are you just a word or sentence or element, punctuation mark of a larger language? I would go even further as to say, yeah, you're also a language too. You could be both. You're a language too because you have self-reference and everyone has a slightly different language. So other people speak you. Isn't that kind of true? Have you noticed how everybody kind of has their own, for lack of a better word, language? When you talk to them, I don't mean literally they use different words. I mean their personality, everything about them is like, okay, you have to learn a new vocabulary. There's new grammar to how everybody is. Yeah. So I am saying that you aren't just a punctuation mark. You are that in some context, but you're also a full-fledged independent language of yourself. Why do you keep saying language? Because that doesn't make sense. Why do you keep saying that? Can you just stop being crazy? Yeah, that's the thing about when you discover something that nobody else kind of agrees with. Either you're crazy or you're just fucking early. How long can you be crazy and be speaking perfectly coherent sentences and not be on any drugs? Well, I don't know. That's a hypothetical because we haven't tried that. I'm just saying, let's say let's say I was not on drugs. I'm just saying, time will tell that I'm either a fucking government agent or a crazy person. I'm not. What I meant by government agent, I mean like, somebody with like secret intelligence, intel, somebody with intel. I'm either that or just another fucking one of them fucking dime a dozen crazy person. You can be both. I kind of want to be both. I kind of want to be both. Because it's fun to be crazy. Your life works out usually better than that. To be a little crazy. People stay away from you. That it's a good survival mechanism to just be a little crazy. People like it. It's fun to watch somebody act crazy on, like, if you're a comedian, being a little crazy, pretty good. Even a karaoke singer being crazy, having the crazy gene, you're going to be better. You're going to be a little bit better at it. Sometimes. So other times you'll be horrible. That's the thing about craziness. You'll be either really good at something or really bad. Either way, more memorable than other people on average. You just be more memorable. And I don't always that's one of the downsides of being weird is you'll stand out. Okay, so anyway, that's the fun part about where I'm at right now is I don't have to, I'm not just waiting. That would be crazy. To just be like one of those guys who just goes on X all day, just be like, okay, here's the same video that I posted for fucking 8 times the fast fucking air. The same video, here it is, MH170 getting absorbed by these fucking drones. Okay, so remember that plane that got Malaysian Airline 150, whatever. Okay, here's the video of with these orbs. Okay, so it's a real video, and it's just a matter of time before the government stops lying to us because we'll figure it out after a certain point. We'll just figure it out. This, some somebody will figure this out. I'm not smart enough to actually prove that this shit is true, but here I am still posting the same video that I posted every day. 2 years going on, 2 years posting this. That's a thing that's very addictive. Like they get their dopamine fix by just being conspiracy theorists, but they're not saying anything original. They're just regurgitating the same shit. Yeah, that would be a little sad to just be a conspiracy theorist and that's it. You're just waiting for other people to go along with it, to prove it for you. You're not actually investigating. You're not actually researching or talking to experts that might be able to help you get to the answer. You're not studying physics to see if there's any legitimacy to this 0-point energy bullshit. No, of course not. That would not give you as much dopamine to crack open the spine of a textbook from the 70s or even earlier than that, because quantum field theory is pretty well established and tons of textbooks about it. You gotta learn just the basics before you make these claims. I mean, sure, you can make claims all you want, but for you to actually proceed, past the initial stage of conspiracy theorists, you kind of have to actually learn if it's true somehow, and that takes learning new skills sometimes. You got to train. I mean, physicists, a lot of them, most of them, they don't care about just studying existing particles. They want to discover new things about reality. That's what they kind of earned, is the ability to discover new things. And to do that, they had to learn a lot of math. You can't just run into a thing that's too technical and say, well, I'm not good at math, so I'll just leave it to some other conspiracy theorist who's maybe good at math. Well, then what are you doing? Then you're not qualified to talk about it. You're not qualified to talk about 0-point energy if you don't even know the basics of quantum field theory, right? So that's the difference between me and other conspiracy folks, is I don't even really believe in any conspiracy theories at the moment. I don't think there's a conspiracy against the thing I'm talking about. I take the high road. No. I take the low road. I think the government is just not smart enough. I take the low road. They're not smart enough. I don't give them as much credit as these, because I have looked into the math. It's pretty hard. You can't be in a government job and know that shit. You're at Stanford. And do they hire people at Stanford to work in the government? No, they hired Bob Lazar, like people from the military. Physicists? There's no physicists working at Area 51. They would leak that information. They're physicists. They would leak it. That's kind of why they got into science, because they want people to know. They want other people to, they don't want to just keep it for themselves. So that right there is all I need to know, is convincing enough for me to rest on my laurels and think that I'm just ahead of them. Yeah, I'm just smarter than all of them. Not all of them, but any individual government entity, they don't fucking sit around coming up with this shit. You gotta be in jail. It's prisoners doing life sentences that come up with this type of shit. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was in prison. This is prison. Having my own beautiful house. That's prison. No, I'm just kidding. I have a very happy, easy, fun, pleasurable life. I just paid my property taxes. There's a lot of money. $5,000, something like over $5,000 out of my checking account. But you have to mention that, because otherwise people won't look at you as an adult if you got nothing to complain about that's monetary or financial or health. If you don't get anything to complain about, no one's going to take you as an adult. If you complain about your property taxes, they'll go, like, well, he's a fucking adult. At least he's paying for the high schools. Yeah. That money's going to go to a little bit of a gym, to a couple of those little planks of wood that make up a gym floor, and at least all of the goop that shines it, the polish. That $5,000 in property tax covers all the goop to polish a nice high school gymnasium floor. That can't be more than $5,000 just for the finish, can it? Maybe it would be just a little more than $5,000 these days to do a good job on a full-size gym floor, like a full basketball court, even bigger maybe. Yeah, that might be more than $5,000 you're talking. Okay, even if it's just half the floor. I like that. That would make me feel very good about myself for contributing that much to the community, because that's a lot of squeaky sounds. Just because of me. All those sounds of sneakers squeaking against that new floor. That's my money that caused them to have that shiny floor. Without me, they would have had to use something fucking way shittier and not as clear and translucent. It would have all this sand, it wouldn't be as smooth. I wish that was how it worked, man. I wish that was how property taxes worked, man. I wish you got to see exactly where it was being used. What if it was just being used for like garbage bags, just to replace the garbage bags in downtown? I don't live in Austin, so that wouldn't make sense. It doesn't go to Austin. It goes to it just goes to the county. So that'd be cool if it was just going to just like new jail bars at the county jail. Like, okay, your property tax paid for an entire 2 cells of brand new bars. That's all you. So when they clank their mugs, along their jail cell, that's all you creating that sound. And that's going to last for years and years. That's where I want the taxes to go. I want them to go somewhere tangible, not just for garbage bags. Hopefully to the fire department too. Something tangible. Even just gas. Okay, you paid for a month supply of gasoline for an entire fire department. That's fucking cool. Your single property tax bill paid for the entire budget of gasoline for a whole 3 fire trucks for 2 months. Anytime there is a fire or a cat stuck in a tree and that fire truck was going down the road, those fumes, not possible without you living in your home, jacking off. You gotta get your fucking purpose somewhere, man. Okay, I don't know why I'm still going. Okay, so that's why I'm a scientist. That's why I moved careers to researchers, because I'm tired of the glamour of what I was doing before, which was amateur comedian. Yeah, that actually was a little more glamorous than it sounds. It doesn't sound glamorous at all. But it's a way it gets you laid a lot easier than if I didn't become a amateur comedian. That's all it took, was just being a amateur comedian to get laid. I didn't even have to be a professional. That's sad. To become a professional only to get laid, because you don't have to even be professional at it to get laid. Just be good at an open mic. It's Second City, and that's all it fucking took. Sometimes, not every time, not all the time. It's not as, okay, Second City open mic. That's all it takes to get every single time. You'll pull a groupie. As creepy as that sounds, it's kind of true that you could get laid just by talking into a microphone and excelling at language. It all comes back to language. So it's not like I'm really switching careers. I'm just doing it in a different form. Instead of writing jokes, I'm writing truths. That is stupid, man. Instead of writing fake bullshit that didn't happen, I'm writing what does happen inside a black hole. Okay, so I'm crazy. But you kind of have to be. But so was I when I was doing comedy. You kind of have to be crazy to do good at comedy. And I didn't quit because I sucked at it. I quit because I finished. I finished inside the woman that I was having sex with that I got from the open mic. So like, oh, okay, I'm done. Yeah, I don't, I'm done. You can't just do that your whole life. So I was pretty good at it. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that I'm not doing it anymore because they need funny people. Who wants to see somebody not funny? But okay, so can we end this? So yeah, I'm a scientist, but not really. Can't really call yourself a scientist if you have zero background in it, if you have zero education, and if you have no diplomas. Oh, and if you have no established work in science. But that's about to change. I will, hopefully within the next few months, put out a paper. Hopefully it'll even maybe be published somewhere. And that kind of is when you can kind of say that you have a foot in the door of science. You're still, I don't know if that's still, are you a scientist? No, you're still just a researcher, but at least then you can call yourself a researcher. Good for you. I don't know if anybody really calls themselves scientists anymore. It's just not really they just call themselves, academics, scholars, researchers, engineers. I don't know. They just go into something else, man. Okay, this has been episode 107 of the Tim Fakes Mom Show. Have a good rest of the piece, y'all, of the year. Yeah, fuck it. Have a good rest of the year, man. Fuck it. This will be the only episode I do all year. Fuck it.